Out of all the superstars in the NBA, Damian Lillard is the only one that I can really think of that has not left his team yet. At least one that's been around for as long as he has. Now, a lot of people would love if loyalty was brought back to the NBA, but the fact of the matter is that the NBA is going to be continuing the super team trend, which I think me and a lot of people have just kind of gotten used to, especially with the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns both beat some super teams on their way to the NBA Finals. But for the first time in my time of watching basketball, I actually want someone to be unloyal. And at this point, I don't even know if it's considered being unloyal. This man, Damian Lillard, has gave his all to the city of Portland, and they have gave him nothing back in return but just shitty teams for him to carry. Yes, they've had their fair share of nice runs and all, but I think if anyone deserves a chance to win an NBA Finals, Damian Lillard is definitely up there. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing why Damian Lillard needs to leave the Portland Trailblazers and where he could possibly go. Because as I said in the intro, this is the first time that I actually want a player to leave their team. It's no secret that Damian Lillard is someone that is very big on loyalty, and I have to say that I respect that. And I think overall as a player that I definitely do respect Damian Lillard. I will say that Damian Lillard always has been one of my favorite players, which is why it pains me to say that I want him to leave Portland, which is where he built his career. Because Damian Lillard has said time and time again that he wants to win a championship. I mean, who doesn't? But Damian Lillard is not even getting a chance anymore to even win a championship at all, let alone even have a chance at making the playoffs right now. Every season, it seems like we're kind of just accustomed to the Portland Trailblazers just making the playoffs and either getting a win in the first round or the second round. And for about the last 2 to 3 seasons, every time the Portland Trailblazers lose early, we're all saying that we want Damian Lillard to leave. And sometimes Dame will drop some hints saying that maybe he could possibly leave, maybe he won't. But ultimately, the fact remains that he always says that he wants to be loyal to the Trailblazers and that he never wants to leave. And I gotta say, I love that Damian Lillard is like that. I feel like his whole personality is also built on loyalty, and that if you were a friend of his, that he's probably a loyal person to you. But I think we're at the point where not only the entire NBA, but a bunch of Portland Trailblazers fans want Damian Lillard to leave as well. And it's not like they have a problem with Damian Lillard, it's just that they want him to be in the best situation possible, and they genuinely care about him. I genuinely don't know how any Trailblazers fan whatsoever could even hate this dude. Now, I understand people being like, oh, you know, you gotta trust the process, eventually the Trailblazers are gonna get something working. And about 5 years ago, I would have told you, you know what, let's be patient, they're always making the playoffs, eventually they're gonna make that jump. But they've never made that jump, and their roster has mostly stayed the same. When Damian Lillard asked for help, he didn't get any, instead his team somehow got worse. Any asset they had, they got rid of. They let guys like Carmelo Anthony, Enes Kanter, and Zach Collins just walk. And if you thought them letting go of all of their decent players in the offseason wasn't bad enough, last night they made a trade to get rid of Norman Powell and Robert Covington. I want to remind you guys that the best move that the Trailblazers made in the offseason was getting Robert Covington and Norman Powell. And if you're wondering what they got back in that trade after giving up Norman Powell and Robert Covington, they got an old-ass Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a 2025 second-round pick. So to sum it up, the Trailblazers gave up Norman Powell and Robert Covington, and the Clippers gave up 2 things of Manscaped ball deodorant. Actually, Manscaped ball deodorant has a lot more value than these players. Do you see how bad this is? If they would have sent just 2 things of Manscaped ball deodorant, I really wouldn't have known the difference. All jokes aside, they have somehow regressed as still being a bad team. Currently, they have an under 500 record, and it doesn't seem like they're gonna make the playoffs. If Damian Lillard is going to leave the Trailblazers, it has to be soon, or else he's gonna retire and just be known as a good player on a really bad team. And maybe Damian Lillard is okay with having to drop 40 points per game for his team to have a chance to win a game. But I think the Trailblazers need to do him justice and just trade him. At this point, you have to enter the rebuilding stage. It's not too late to give up Damian Lillard and Yusuf Nurkic and just restart your whole team. Oh, and just trade CJ McCollum already, it's not working. And if you don't want to fully rebuild, you at least have to trade Damian Lillard. Do the man justice and get him off that shitty organization. Dame is going to forever love Portland, and I don't blame him, as because like I said, he's a very loyal guy, but on top of that, they gave him a chance. And I feel like no one should ever forget their roots, as obviously that's where they came from, which is why I'm suggesting that the Portland Trailblazers do this the easy way and just trade him and do him justice. Now, of course, where could Damian Lillard possibly go? A lot of people, when they think of a Damian Lillard trade, some people like to say the Lakers, which I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. It makes absolutely no sense. I've seen some people try to say that they could swap Russ and Lillard for each other, but then again, that would one, not make any sense just financially and statistically. Now, a news report yesterday did come out that Damian Lillard said if he was going to be traded that he'd prefer it be in the Western Conference, which basically eliminates about 15 teams. Then again, he said his preferred destination, so that's not saying if he were to get traded to say the Knicks, then he wouldn't be against it. Because now that I think about it, I actually wouldn't mind a trade to the Knicks. In my last video where I talked about Zion, I talked about the possibility of maybe Julius Randle and Zion Williamson getting swapped for each other, but what about Damian Lillard for Julius Randle? Obviously, I know there'd be some other players involved due to financial stuff, but I'm just saying the main point of the trade. Julius Randle's stock right now is starting to plummet, and he's being seen as just a really bad player right now, so I honestly think that if he went to Portland, he could build back up his reputation. Now, for some reason, there was a big thing going on about Damian Lillard possibly going to the Sixers, which has been shut down because number one, the Sixers have already said that they're gonna go for James Harden, but number two, Damian Lillard was the one that said he wanted to go to a Western Conference team if he were to get traded. Now, I'm not trying to push the narrative that Damian Lillard said he wanted to get traded, but in the article, he did state that if he was gonna get traded to a team, he'd prefer he stay in the West. However, now thinking about it, I don't know that many teams that are actually in the West that could possibly win a championship in these upcoming years that he could be getting traded to. According to some research that I've been doing, the Wizards are possibly going to be a trade destination for Damian Lillard. If they could give up like Spencer Dinwiddie and some role players, I think that's actually a pretty good trade. Now, of course, it's a whole nother situation where Damian Lillard stays in Portland and they just get him some fucking help. Get this man Damian Lillard some decent talent. And if I am correct on my theory where it seems like the Trailblazers are on purposely trying to get worse so Dame can leave, then this is gonna be a really sad ending to Damian Lillard's career. Of course, I gotta give credit where credit is due, and the fact that Damian Lillard has been able to stay so loyal to this team for so long when they have not done him justice is something that we need to talk about a lot more. Loyalty has really died down in the NBA, and I honestly do hope that it does make a comeback and players like Damian Lillard can be that inspiration. Unfortunately though, when we look at the example of Damian Lillard and him not winning a championship or really ever having a chance, it makes going on a super team and just getting possibly a easier ring than what you would mostly have to go through just a lot better of an option. I mean, going on any team doesn't guarantee you a championship, just ask James Harden. Now, with all that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you guys do tell me in the comment section below if you think that Damian Lillard should be getting traded from the Portland Trailblazers. I would like to see it happen. I just want Dame to end his career more successfully than a lot of people think he could if he were to stay in Portland. With all that being said, I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Have an amazing day. Take care. Peace.